The rain fell hard on the metal roofs of the junkyard. Dane wiped oil from his hands and looked up at the dark sky. Another long day fixing broken machines. He lived alone at the edge of the colony, far from the city lights. No one visited him. And he liked it that way, until that night. A strange sound came from the alley behind his shack. Not a machine, not an animal, something softer. A voice, weak and shaking. He grabbed a flashlight and stepped outside. The light fell on a small figure curled up against a rusted wall. A girl, or something close to it. Her skin was pale violet. Her long hair tangled and soaked with rain. She was shaking, arms wrapped around herself. And her eyes were sealed shut with burned scars. Dane knelt beside her. Careful, she didn't move. He touched her shoulder, and she flinched. "Please," she whispered, voice like a broken note. "I didn't mean to escape." Dane's heart dropped. Escape? He carried her inside. She was light, too light. It's like she hadn't eaten in days. He laid her on the old couch and wrapped her in a blanket. Her skin was cold like metal, but still soft. He gave her warm broth, and she sipped it slowly. She didn't ask who he was, didn't thank him. She just kept whispering to herself. Dark, still dark. "What happened to your eyes?" Dane asked softly. She shook her head, a tear slipping down her cheek. "They said I saw too much," she whispered. "I was born wrong. They tried to fix me. Then they said I failed." He didn't ask more. She was clearly not human, but he had seen many hybrids in this colony. Some mixed by science, some born from war. But this girl was different. She was broken, but something about her felt alive. "What's your name?" he asked. She hesitated. "Lura," she said at last. "Lura," he repeated, nodding. "I'm Dane." She didn't respond, but her lips moved silently, repeating his name in her mind. The next day, Dane tried to let her rest, but he noticed something. She didn't just sit still. She listened to everything, his tools clicking, engines humming. Even the drip of rain from the roof, she could sense things, even without eyes. He had an idea, an old project he once abandoned, an experimental visor. Something he had tried to build years ago for scrap diving in dark tunnels. It used heat, movement, and sonar to create visual signals in the brain. It never worked right, but maybe. For her, it could. He pulled out the old parts, cleaned the rust, rewired the core. Laura sat nearby, silent, but she tilted her head at every sound. "You're building something," she said suddenly. "Something that hums." Dane smiled. "Impressed?" "Yeah," he said. "For you?" She turned her face toward him, eyes sealed but alert. "Why?" she asked. "You don't even know me. Maybe I don't need to." He said simply, "I just know you shouldn't stay in the dark forever." For 3 days, he worked non-stop. The visor took shape-thin metal bands, neural wires, and an old chip he found from a crashed drone. It wasn't perfect, but it was close. When he placed it gently over Laura's eyes, she tensed, then whispered, "It's warm." He flipped the switch, the visor clicked, lights pulsed softly. For a moment, nothing happened. Then Laura gasped. "I see." "Shadows light," she cried, her hands shaking. "I see the heat of your hands." The flicker of the fire, she reached out blindly, but touched his face perfectly. Tears rolled down her cheeks. It's not like before, but it's something he hadn't felt needed in years. Now, this broken girl smiled at him like he had given her the stars. But outside, beyond the junkyard, deep in space, something else had noticed when he powered up the visor. It sent out a tiny signal, just a flicker, far away. In a silent control room buried under a military moon, a screen lit up red. Asterisk. Dane didn't sleep that night. He watched Laura sit on the couch, slowly turning her head to follow sounds she once couldn't track. Her face glowed with wonder. her fingertips tracing the air as if chasing shapes. The visor fit her perfectly, humming softly like it was alive. She wasn't blind anymore, not in the way she had been before. "I can see heat," she whispered, voice trembling. "Your breath, your tools, even the mouse under the floor." Dane chuckled. Surprised, she noticed the mouse. "That's more than I ever hoped for," he said. But deep inside, he felt uneasy. The moment he powered up the visor, something clicked, like it was searching for something. He brushed the thought away, blaming his tired brain. But the unease stayed, cold and heavy. Laura walked slowly through the junkyard the next morning. She stepped carefully, still unsure, but her head moved like she was reading a hidden world. She stopped near a broken satellite dish and whispered, "This used to speak to the stars." Dane blinked, surprised. "How do you know that?" he asked. "I don't know," she said quietly. "I just do." Inside the workshop, Dane checked the visor's components again. The core chip was old, worn, scavenged from a half-melted drone he found years ago. He never knew where it did. Came from only that it was military grade. He had connected it to help power the visor's signal map. But now? He wasn't sure if it was just power. There were layers of code buried deep, written in symbols he couldn't read that evening. He tried accessing the chip through his old terminal. Lines of encrypted data poured across the screen, glowing. Blue, then red. A warning popped up. Not in any language he recognized. Then the screen went black. From behind, Laura said softly, "It doesn't want to be opened." Dane turned, startled. "How do you know that?" But in pulses, the visor hummed louder now. It seemed to respond to her emotions, getting louder when she was scared, and calm when she smiled. It wasn't just a tool, it was becoming part of her. Later that night, Dane sat outside the shack, staring at the stars. He lit a small fire and thought about what he had done. He only wanted to help a broken girl see again. But maybe, just maybe, he had woken up something he shouldn't have. Miles above the colony, in orbit, an ancient defense satellite blinked awake. It had been dead for years, hidden from all scanners. But now, it detected a signal, Helmsite Unit 017 online. The screen flashed, coordinates locked, alert sent, on a black moon 3 systems away. A military facility stirred, inside a dark room. A soldier's visor lit up red. "Sir," said the technician, "we found it." The commander stood still, cold eyes watching the data feed. "Impossible," he muttered. "That tech was destroyed." "It just came online again," the technician said, "and it's moving." With a biosignature, the commander nodded. "Send the retrieval team," he ordered. "Bring it back live if possible. Dead if not, back on the colony." Laura had a dream. She stood in a white room, filled with shadows that walked without sound. A voice echoed in her mind. "You are not meant to see." It said, "Return what was taken." She woke with a scream, clutching her head. The visor blinked with flashing lights, red and green, flickering fast. Dane ran in, heart racing. "Laura, what happened?" he asked. She sat up, shaking. "They're coming," she whispered. "Soldiers?" "I saw them in my dream." "No, not dream memory." He stared at her, unsure. But then the visor lit again, and she looked straight at him. "Something is inside this visor," she said, "and now it's inside me." Dane's hands trembled. As he picked up the old drone chip's casing, there was a name etched inside the cover, almost invisible. Project Helmsite, Classified AI-Linked Targeting System. This wasn't just military tech, it was Black Ops level. Never meant for public hands. And now it was fused to the brain of a young alien girl. He wanted to rip it off, shut it down, hide it in the junk. But when he looked at Laura, he couldn't. She was stronger, more alive than he had ever seen her. He nodded slowly, but fear still crawled in his chest. Because he knew what military Black Ops did when secrets were found in the wild, and they were not far behind, outside. The wind shifted, dry and strange, and far above the clouds, 3 silent ships began to scent. Lura sat on the rooftop of the junkyard shack. The wind brushing through her tangled hair, the visor on her face pulsed quietly. Glowing in the night, she didn't speak, didn't blink, only stared forward with eyes that could no longer open. But now she didn't need them, because the visor showed her the world in colors and lights no one else could see. Dane watched her from below, standing by his old generator. He had rewired the power to keep the visor charged all night. Still, he couldn't rest. Every time the visor blinked in that strange rhythm, he felt a chill. It was learning he was sure of it now, and more than that. It was watching something far beyond their junkyard. I can see through walls. Lura whispered suddenly. Dane looked up, surprised. I can see your heartbeat, she said softly. And the small creatures underground, she pointed at. The floor beneath her feet, there's a lizard chewing on wire. He rushed over to check. And sure enough, a tiny blue-scaled lizard was gnawing through a data cable. He pulled it away, stunned. How are you doing that? He asked. I don't know, she said. It just happens. That night, Lura didn't sleep. She walked quietly through the yard. Scanning things with her new sight, she touched metal and whispered what it used to be, what it once held inside. Old ships, burnt engines, forgotten weapons. It was like she remembered things that weren't hers. Like the visor was feeding her old memories. Suddenly, she stopped. Her head turned toward the sky. What is it? Dane asked, stepping out with a flashlight. She didn't answer at first. Then she said one word. Danger. Far above them, 3 black shapes moved through the clouds, silent and fast. They had no lights, no markings. But Lura saw the heat of the engines. They're looking for us, she whispered. I see the red dots. Red dots? Dane asked. She nodded slowly on the roof, moving across the walls. Like eyes made of lasers, he froze, then rushed inside, pulling her with him. The old sensors around the junkyard didn't beep, didn't blink. Whatever was coming was cloaked. They were being watched by professionals. Dane pulled a heavy tarp over the workshop windows and motioned for Lura to stay low. She crouched beside a crate of wires, her visor glowing brighter now. I see them, she whispered. 3 on the roof. 1 by the gate. 1 inside your broken shuttle. Dane's blood ran cold. How are they already here? He asked under his breath. I think they were always close, Lura said. Just waiting for the visor to wake up. Dane grabbed his old laser cutter and handed Lura a piece of shielding metal. Stay behind this if anything happens, he said. But she didn't hide. She stood slowly and turned toward the door. I'm not afraid, she whispered again. Outside. Silent boots landed on gravel. Black armored soldiers moved like shadows, each one carrying high-tech rifles. Their visors blinked with red symbols, scanning for signs of life. Inside the shack, Dane held his breath. Then suddenly banged. One of the doors burst open. Dane raised the cutter, but before he could fire, Lura stepped in front of him. Her visor flared white, and she raised her hand. The soldier froze, his gun still raised, but his body stiffened, eyes wide. He dropped the weapon and backed away like he saw something terrifying. What did you do? Dane whispered. I showed him what I see, Lura said softly. The visor? It showed him too. The soldier fled, disappearing into the night. 2 others tried to enter from the back, but Lura turned her head and the visor pulsed again. They staggered, confused. As if blinded by something invisible, they dropped too. Their knees screaming into their helmets. Then they vanished into the dark. Running as if chased by ghosts. Dane stood frozen, staring at Lura. You're not just seeing through walls anymore, he said. You're seeing into them. I think the visor is unlocking something, she said, voice quiet but calm. It's not just light and heat, Dame. It's memory, thought, fear, even intention, suddenly. Her knees buckled, and she fell. He rushed to catch her. The visor blinked rapidly, red and blue. Images flashing across its surface, strange symbols, diagrams, unfamiliar faces. Unfamiliar faces. All racing through her mind, she clutched her head, crying out, "I see too much." Dane pulled the visor off, but it clung to her skin like it was alive. He yanked it free, and it finally released her. Leaving behind red marks on her temples, she collapsed, breathing hard, shaking. He held her close, whispering that she was safe, but in his heart, he knew that was no longer true, because whatever he had built, whatever that visor truly was, it was never meant for a girl, never meant for kindness. It was a weapon, and now it was awake. And now others would come not just to retrieve it, but to destroy whoever touched it. The junkyard was no longer quiet. Its silence had been broken by footsteps, silent, sharp, and heavy. Dane crouched beside the window, his hand gripping a pulse hammer. Laura sat on the floor, pale and trembling, the visor still in her lap. She wasn't wearing it now, but it still hummed like it was breathing. "They're not gone," she said, her voice weak. "They're just waiting." Dane didn't speak. He had locked every door, blocked the windows, and shut down all external power, but he knew none of that would matter. These weren't street thugs or bounty hunters. These were Black Ops soldiers. They moved like shadows, almost invisible to the eye. But Laura could still see them in her mind. Even without the visor, her brain felt changed, like the visor had rewired her, left behind pieces of itself. "They're splitting up," she whispered. "One's near the old shuttle, another on the tower, and one is coming through the ground." Dane froze. "The tunnel." He said, "No one knows about it. They do now." She replied, eyes wide with fear. He grabbed a scrap rifle and ran to the back of the workshop. The tunnel was an old maintenance shaft he'd built to reach the fuel cellar. He knelt beside the hatch, aimed his weapon, and waited. A low clanking sound echoed upward, then thump. A boot landed on the ladder's top rung. Dane held his breath. The moment the soldier's helmet rose into view, Dane fired. The blast hit the wall. Missing by inches, the soldier moved faster than any human could, flipping into the room with perfect silence. Dane swung the hammer, but the soldier grabbed it mid-air. The two struggled, crashing into shelves and crates. Sparks flew. Glass shattered, then click. The soldier pressed a short blade to Dane's throat. "Where is the girl?" The soldier demanded, his voice flat, modulated by a mask. Dane didn't answer. Eyes locked with the glowing visor on the other side of the room before the blade could move. A pulse shot through the air like invisible fire. The soldier staggered back. Screaming through his helmet, he dropped his weapon, falling to his knees, clutching his head. Laura stood in the doorway, the visor back on her face, but this time it wasn't glowing soft blue, blazed white hot. "I warned you," she whispered, her voice shaking. "Don't touch him." The soldier scrambled away, breathing hard, and ran back through the tunnel without looking back. Dane collapsed beside Laura, panting. "You saved me again," he said, voice hoarse. "I didn't even try," she replied. "The visor. It protected you, like it remembered." Suddenly, a loud bang came from outside. Something had landed. Hard, Dane peeked through a small hole in the wall. His heart skipped. A black dropship had touched down in the middle of the junkyard too. More soldiers stepped out, taller, heavier, wearing full X-armor. One of them carried a case the size of a coffin. From it, they pulled a glowing device and planted it into the ground. The air shimmered, and a soft blue field spread over the entire junkyard. "A shield," Dane said. "They're sealing us." Laura turned her head slowly. "They're not here to talk anymore," she whispered. "They've changed their orders. How do you know?" he asked. I heard them, she said, not with my ears. With this, she tapped the visor gently. They said, "Terminate if recovered." Dane clenched his fists. He had built the visor to help her, to give her a second chance. Now they wanted to take it back and bury it and her with it. They can't have you, he said firmly. Then we need to run, she replied. Now? They gathered what little gear they had, an old hoverbike, a fuel cell, and Dane's emergency toolkit, but as they reached the back gate, the blue field stopped them. Laura touched it and gasped. "It's alive," she said. "The shield. It's watching us." Dane stared at the emitter across the yard, glowing red. "We destroy that," he said. "Then we can escape." But they only had seconds before the soldiers would close in. Suddenly, Laura turned to him, eyes wide under the visor. "There's another way," she said. "The visor. It's showing me a hidden exit." "Where?" he asked. She pointed to a pile of crushed panels under there, an old maintenance shaft from the factory days. They ran, pushing aside metal and dust, revealing a rusted hatch as they opened it. A voice echoed through the yard, a loudspeaker. "This is Strike Team Omega." The voice said, cold and calm, "Surrender the helm site unit now, and you may live." Dane looked at Laura, who shook her head slowly. "I'm not going back," she said. "They blinded me once, then we don't surrender," he replied. They dropped into the tunnel just as flash grenades rained from the sky. The world above turned white with noise. But below, in the dark, two figures disappeared into the earth, one carrying the visor, the other carrying hope. The tunnel was cold and narrow. Old wires hung from the ceiling like vines, and dust filled the air with every step. Dane moved first, holding a dim flashlight. Laura followed close, her hand on his shoulder, the visor lighting faintly in the dark. Her breath was shaky, but her voice steady. "They're still above us," she said. "I can hear their boots, even through the ground." Dane nodded, wiping sweat from his forehead. The deeper they went, the older the tunnel felt. Walls turned from metal to stone, and the air grew dry and quiet. "No one's used this place in years," he said. "That's why it's safe." She replied, "For now." They finally reached an old hatch, half buried under rubble. Dane kicked it open, and a faint breeze rushed in. They stepped out into a cavern lit by glowing moss, natural and strange. An underground hollow once used for mining, now forgotten by the world above. Laura sat down on a flat rock, breathing heavily. "The visor is quiet," she said, "but I still feel it." Thinking, Dane sat beside her, staring into the dim green light. "I didn't know it could do all this," he said. "I just wanted you to see again." "I did," she whispered. "But now I see too much." Her hands trembled. "I saw things I shouldn't have. Faces, codes, war, death, memories from the visor." Dane asked. She nodded. "Memories that aren't mine." Suddenly, a sound echoed through the cavern, metal footsteps, slow and deliberate. "Oh!" Dane jumped to his feet, raising the flashlight from the shadows. A tall figure stepped forward, arms raised. "I'm not here to harm you," the man said. He wore a dark officer's coat. No armor, no weapon, just a calm expression. "I'm here to talk." Laura stood, visor pulsing with light, but Dane stepped in front of her. "Who are you?" he asked, voice tense. "Commander Riven," the man replied, "Helm Site Project Overseer." Dane's jaw tightened. "You're the one who made this thing?" he asked, pointing to the visor. "I helped," Riven said, "but it was never meant for a child." He looked at Laura gently, then added, "It was never meant to bond like this." Laura's hand gripped Dane's sleeve tightly. "I don't trust him," she said softly. "Neither do I," Dane answered. Riven didn't move closer. Instead, he opened a small black case and set it on the ground. Inside were tools, wires, and a smooth silver band, another visor, newer and sleeker. "This is the original design," Riven said. "No memories, No warfare code, just vision. He looked at Lura, his voice soft. If you come with me, we can transfer your connection. Safely, and if I don't? She asked. Riven sighed. My team was ordered to extract the device by force, he said. But I'm giving you a choice. No more labs, Lura said, her voice shaking. No more cages. We wouldn't hurt you, he replied. You already did, she snapped. You stole my eyes. The visor on her face flared, and Riven took a cautious step back. I understand your anger, he said. No, you don't. Dane said coldly. You left her to die. She was never supposed to wake up with it, Riven replied. The Helmsight unit was shut down until someone reactivated it. Dane clenched his fists. I didn't know, he said. I just wanted to help her, and you did, Riven said. Too well, he turned to Lura again. Come with me, he said. Let us fix what we broke. She looked at Dane, her hands trembling. I don't know, she whispered. What if they take my mind? My memories? Everything this gave me. You'll still be you, Dane said softly. But it's your choice. Riven waited in silence. Then, Lura stepped forward, standing between the two men. She looked down at the silver visor in the case, then back at Dane. Then, without warning, she closed the case and handed it back to Riven. No, she said. I won't give it up. Riven's face fell. Lura. I was blind, she said. You broke me, and Dane gave me light again. You think this visor made me strong, she continued. But it didn't. Kindness did. She stepped back to Dane, holding his hand. I'm not going with you. Riven sighed deeply, closing the case. Then he pulled out a small device and tapped it once. The cavern lit with red-lined Stargate markers, dozens of them. A projection formed in the air above them, a soldier squad in position. Guns aimed at their hiding place. You refused the offer, Riven said quietly. Now I can't stop what comes next. He turned and walked away, vanishing into the shadows. Seconds later, the red dots vanished from the air, but the danger remained. They're coming. Lura whispered. Then we fight. Dane said. No, she whispered, her voice strange now. Deeper, we evolve. The visor on her face shifted, the light turning golden. Symbols danced across the surface like fire. She took a deep breath and looked upward. I see a way out, she said. But it's not through the tunnel. Where then? Dane asked. Into the mountains, she replied. To the vault hidden by the ones who made this. More soldiers will come, Dane warned. Let them, Lura said, her voice calm and sure. I'm not afraid anymore. The mountain wind howled like a living thing. Cold air whipped across the rocky trail as Dane helped Lura climb the last slope. She moved slowly, every step careful, but her face showed no fear. The visor glowed golden now. Not just a tool but something more. It pulsed with steady rhythm. As if guiding her forward, they had left the tunnels behind, escaped the junkyard, crossed frozen hills. And now they stood near the edge of a massive cliffside. Below them, nothing but mist and stone. Lura raised her head and pointed forward. It's here, she whispered. The vault is below us. Dane looked around, confused. I don't see anything. He said, no entrance, no gate. You're not supposed to, she replied. She knelt down, placing her hand on the ground. The visor flashed once, and strange symbols appeared in the air above the cliff like a map made of light. These are not roads, she said, eyes narrowing. There. Memories? Memories. Dane asked. Yes, she whispered, left behind by the ones who built the visor. The first ones, she traced one glowing path with her finger. It lit up and moved, like it was alive suddenly. The cliff rumbled, rocks split, and an arrow staircase revealed itself, carved deep into the mountain wall. Dane stared in shock. This place has been sealed for decades, he said. Longer, Lura replied. maybe centuries. They walked down into the mountain, one step at a time. The air grew warmer. Filled with strange vibrations, old lights flickered to life, without power cables responding to the visor's signal. The walls were smooth, silver gray, covered in writing neither of them could read. "This isn't alien," Dane muttered. "It's human, partly," Laura said, "but twisted, mixed with something else, at the bottom." They found a large circular chamber. In the center stood a metal platform, surrounded by pods, 6 of them, each holding a sleeping body, human figures, but altered skin like metal, eyes sealed, circuits running along their veins. "Who are they?" Dane asked, his voice low. "The first hosts," Laura said slowly. "The first ones who wore the helm sight." She walked to the central platform, guided by invisible threads only she could see. The visor glowed brighter as she stepped into the light. Then a voice echoed through the chamber, cold, mechanical, and ancient. "Unit 017 detected." It said, "Connection complete." The visor flared white, and Laura gasped, falling to her knees. Dane rushed forward, but a field of energy blocked him. He could only watch as Laura's body trembled, her eyes closed, mouth whispering things he couldn't hear inside her mind. Doors opened. She stood in a city of stars, surrounded by glowing figures, humans, aliens, machines, all merged into one. They spoke without words, feeding her memories. Knowledge, blueprints, warnings. She saw how the visor was made, not just to see, but to connect, to map thought, emotion, and even time. It was built to control armies, to guide fleets across galaxies. But the project had been buried. The minds it touched burned out from visions too big to hold. Except hers, back in the real world, the energy field faded. Laura collapsed into Dane's arms, breathing hard. "What did you see?" he asked gently. She looked at him, eyes wide behind the visor. "Everything," she whispered. "The war, the vaults, the lie." "What lie?" Dane asked, confused. The visor was never just for battle. She said it was for choosing. Choosing what? He asked. She stood slowly, voice steadier now. "A successor," she said. "Someone who could see beyond flesh and machine." Her fingers moved across the visor, and the room shifted. The pods began to drain, the bodies inside vanishing into mist. A new image rose in the center of the platform, a map of the galaxy, glowing red in certain zones. "These places," she said, pointing, "are where the old vaults lie. Each one holds knowledge, power, and danger. And now, I'm the only one who can find them." Dane stared at the map, heart pounding. "What happens if others find them first?" he asked. "They'll use them to enslave minds," she said, "or worse, erase them. But I can stop it." She added, "If I reach them first." Before he could speak, her face tensed. "They're close," she said. "I feel them again." "The soldiers? How did they find us here?" Dane asked, grabbing his tools. "They didn't," she said. "The visor called them." "Why would it do that?" he asked. "Because the test is not over," she said. "The last part is survival." A deep alarm echoed through the mountain vault. Red lights lit the walls, and distant boots began to echo in the upper tunnel. Dane looked at her, eyes wide. "What now?" he asked. She stepped onto the platform, visor burning bright. "We show them I'm not their experiment anymore," she said. "I'm the result." The walls of the vault shook as the first blast hit the entrance. Dust rained from the ceiling, and red lights spun across the ancient stone. Dane stood by the platform, holding a tool bag like a shield. His hands were shaking, but his eyes stayed on Laura. She stood tall, visor glowing like a miniature sun. She didn't flinch, didn't run. She was ready. "They're almost here," Dane said. "We need to escape." "There's no escape," Laura replied, calm and still. "They followed the signal to destroy me, but you turned off the beacon," he said. She shook her head slowly. I didn't, she whispered. The visor did. It wanted them to come. Dane looked confused. Why? He asked, so I could finish the test. She answered, so it could decide if I was worthy. Before he could say another word, the vault doors blew open. A shockwave of light and sound slammed into the chamber. Dane fell backward, covering his head. Soldiers poured in black armor, glowing rifles. Their boots thundering on metal, but the moment they saw Lura, they froze. She stood in the center of the platform, the visor pulsing in waves of golden light. Her eyes were closed, but her mind was wide open, and she saw everything. I know. Your orders, she said softly, her voice echoing in the chamber. I saw your mission before you even left orbit. One soldier raised his weapon, but it jammed. Another stepped forward, hesitated and dropped his helmet. His eyes were wide, tears streaming down his face. I remember, he whispered. I remember what they took from me. Laura nodded. The visor doesn't just see light or heat, she said. It sees pain, memory, hope. And it gives them back. More soldiers backed away, confused and afraid. Some dropped their weapons. Others screamed as if seeing ghosts. Dane crawled to Lura's side, heart pounding. What's happening to them? He asked. I showed them the truth, she said. What the visor showed me what the project hid. Suddenly, a loud voice boomed from behind the soldiers. Commander Riven stepped forward, eyes cold, coat torn, holding a compact pulse cannon. This ends now, he said. That device, he growled, was never meant to live. It's not just a device anymore. Dane shouted, standing in front of Lure. She's not your experiment. She's a person. She's a weapon, Riven barked, aiming the cannon. I won't let her rewrite reality. Laura stepped past Dane, calm and steady. If you fire, she said, you'll never see again. Riven hesitated. What are you? He asked, his voice almost a whisper. She smiled faintly, the visor glowing bright. I'm not what you made, she said. I'm what came after, with a wave of her hand. The visor released a pulse of light, not a beam, but a wave of feeling. It swept through the chamber like wind through trees. Every soldier dropped to one knee, eyes wide, memories flashing in their minds. Old regrets, lost families. Wars they couldn't forget, shone back to them in a blink. Riven dropped the cannon, his hands shaking. What did you do to me? He asked, his voice cracking. I gave you your past back, Lura said. And now you get to choose what you become. She turned away from him, walking to Dane. Her voice softer now, full of peace. It's over, she said. The map behind. Them shifted again, new stars lighting up, new paths opening. Dane stared in awe. What now? He asked. What happens next? We find the others, she said. The other vaults, the other pieces. The visor wasn't made to control people. She added, it was made to connect them. You'll lead them. Dane asked. No, she replied. Looking up at him, we will. He smiled, eyes full of disbelief and hope after everything. You're still willing to trust people? He asked. I see the bad, she said, but I also see the good thanks to you. They walked out of the vault together, past the kneeling soldiers, past Riven, who sat in silence, up the winding steps and into the morning sun. Laura removed the visor for the first time in days. Her sealed eyes still couldn't open, but she didn't need them anymore. Because she didn't just see the world now, she felt it, and it was beautiful.